Speaking of which, it has been several days since there has been any news from Vin family. On the other hand, Makaithap is extremely important and must not make any mistakes. At this time Miss Du ran in and said, "Sir, you have a phone call from Vin family. Just mention it and finally His Majesty wants to meet Mr. Lee." At this moment, Mr. Lee finally breathed a sigh of relief. "It seems that the Vin family did not betray your trust," Ms. Du spoke up. Mr. Lee turned back and said, "The base overseas is already in my pocket, indeed." It was correct to have the Vin family as the foreign representative. The Vin family's heritage of over 100 years is their best accumulation. The King of Country Tea, for the club, is a rare high-quality customer. So, how will my advisor plan for this overseas base? I am looking forward to it. Ms. Du knew what Mr. Lee was saying. She thought for a while and then spoke up. Country Tea is located in a tropical archipelago with a very advantageous geographical position. There are many private islands here that have been exploited. We can buy an island in Country Tea for secret experiments, and at the same time, we can also build a large base underground in the heart of the city. In the heart of the city, what is called vague and illusory, there will be millions of people in the future. This will be the best testament to a hidden base. The two of them looked at each other without saying a word. Later on, Mr. Lee said, "That's not bad, it can be researched. So wait until the 10th generation code arrives, then we will play this game. We will slowly lower it." After that, Mr. Lee went to a noisy and bustling bar to eat and drink. There was also an old man who had sold his lifespan to him, also enjoying himself here. Old Man Vin had also arrived. The person accompanying Old Man Vin saw this and said, "Do we need to evacuate people first? This place is really chaotic." Old Man Vin said no need. Mr. Lee has lived for several hundred years, probably just likes this kind of bustling street. He turned back and said, "The food smells so good, old friend, you usually rarely eat such delicious food, right? Don't hesitate anymore, hurry in." The king behind him was speechless. He thought to himself, "Why am I here? Am I being teased? Even when I was studying abroad here, I would never go to such a dirty and noisy place. This old man Vin must not be dealing with businessmen at that time. If that's the case, he really isn't smart." In the end, the 10th generation code followed Old Man Vin, while Mr. Lee was gnawing on skewers at this time. Old Man Vin ran over and started, "Mr. Lee, I've kept you waiting for a long time." "Oh, Old Man Vin, you came just in time. The food has just been served." When both sides met each other, neither said anything. He thought to himself, "This cunning kid doesn't intend to say anything? Does he want me to speak first? Don't even think about it, I am a king after all." At this point he couldn't stand it anymore. He took off his glasses and said, "Mr. Lee here, I can't explain it at all right now. I hope you know what you're doing." Hearing this, Mr. Lee immediately accelerated time by 10,000 times, making everyone around slow down as if they were going to stop completely. The people following the king were shocked. What's going on? Everyone around has completely stopped. Mr. Lee spoke up, "Your Majesty the King, welcome to my time zone." He was still shocked. This is really crazy, it's definitely not a trick. Just now that boss jumped in mid-stitch and hasn't landed yet. Mr. Lee continued, "The ancients have a saying, great concealment is invisible, small concealment is nowhere, which means if you want to hide something, why not try putting it where the public least expects it, like under a city for example. Surely you're not planning on building an underground garden in my city? Of course, you are the king of a country with endless wealth, but isn't it all rotten wealth? Money can buy everything you want, but what I can give you is the continuation of all these things, including benefits. This is the price I offer, which is longevity." Mr. Lee said, "Longevity is the price I offer." The old king said it was very attractive, but as a king, he could not ignore the opinions of the public, and you should understand that. "Your Majesty, I think our cooperation is not limited to buying land. My longevity club recruits all talents from home and abroad, from ancient times to the present. We will complete various experimental results at overseas bases, and our grasp of technology far exceeds the current social development. At the same time, pharmaceutical factories and international trade are also expanding accordingly. Ms. Du came forward and said, "Sir, I have brought the things here. It's hard work, Ms. Du, please check it out. This is a part of our initial custom plan, but the official ratio is much larger. How about it, Your Majesty? Are the large overseas projects and orders enough to become an additional part of this cooperation? Well, if that's the case, we can discuss further. I don't know about Mr. Lee here." Before he could finish his sentence, Mr. Lee spoke up. "Sorry, Your Majesty. The next related procedures will be discussed with you by Ms. Du. After all, professional matters should be left to professionals, right? Ms. Du, bring out the contract." Seeing this, Vin said, "Who is this, sir?" "The contract matter is not in a hurry for now. At present, we are just verbally agreeing with His Majesty here. With my experience, isn't it a bit hasty to talk about contracts now?" "Well, you have a point there. Is this contract part for you?" "What's this?" "A sales contract with a lifespan purchase time of 3 years and a sale price of 0 dong." He was surprised when Mr. Lee continued. "This time you did very well. This is your reward." Old man Vin immediately signed the contract in front of the surprised king. 3 years are enough for my body to step into a new stage. Okay, the transaction is successful. Old man Vin's wrinkled and old face seemed to have rejuvenated. The old emperor was surprised and immediately stood up. "Old man Vin has rejuvenated, it's amazing. If it's said that time has stopped just now, I was a little doubtful, then the old man Vin in front of me really rejuvenated. This is a miracle. The man in front of me possesses divine power. I must win a deal with him." At this time in the bar, all activities returned to normal noise and excitement. And old man Vin happily said, "Youth is still the best. Where are the people? Bring out the wine. Today I want to drink with Mr. Lee until I'm drunk. I can even step on the table to drink." The old emperor clapped his hands in praise. "Today is really eye-opening. In this regard, may I ask how many people in this world can meet?" Mr. Lee replied, "Your Majesty overpraised. We look forward to further cooperation with your country." "Haha, I'm looking forward to it too," he said, looking at Mr. Lee. Just then there was an argument at the next table. Unfortunately, the bar owner splashed cooking oil on a few tigers. Seeing this, old man Vin said to the king, "I'm sorry for dirtying your eyes. I will immediately order my subordinates to deal with it." But at this time the bar owner's niece came out, making everyone surprised. The girl spoke up, "We all live by giving way to each other. Can I treat this meal as compensation?" Seeing that she was also drifting, the playboys said, "It's not a big deal, we're not people who are pushed by the water. As long as this girl treats us to a few drinks, we won't mention the old woman." The girl lowered her head and said, "I'll drink." The bosses were less angry and both sides were happy. "But I know very well what you guys are thinking, a bunch of filthy scum." Hearing the girl say this, both Mr. Lee and the others were very surprised. They were angry and attacked her. Old Vin quickly ordered his men to handle it, but Du Van assured him not to worry. "Old Vin, that girl won't suffer today." She then looked at Mr. Lee. As for the girl, she was now on the defensive. The two guys came again. She told herself she could do it this time. Mr. Lee accelerated 50 times for the girl. The girl was in an accelerated state, so the two guys slowed down a lot. Immediately one guy was punched and rolled a few rounds, his head split open. The other guy didn't understand what was happening when he saw this. She gave him another punch that sent him flying into the sky. The crowd also opened their eyes wide in surprise. At this point, the girl couldn't believe it. Was it because they were too weak or she was too strong? Everyone around was surprised, wondering why this girl was so powerful. The restaurant owner ran over and asked his granddaughter, "Are you okay?" "Yes, I'm fine." Then Mr. Lee's group left, not forgetting to look back at her one more time. Then Mr. Lee went home, not forgetting to ask Robert to investigate her identity. Tamo So, 26 years old, from Sichuan, living with her grandmother and two younger sisters who are still studying, introverted and strong-willed. She used to be an employee of a service limited liability company with a monthly salary of 12,000 yuan. To help her family she had to work part-time outside. That's it? It's so short? Poor Robert, when eating in front of Bang Hao, took all the food with him. This is all the information that can be found already, there is really nothing special about it. Not as bad as Hao. You've had a hard trip then. No problem sir, just say you go buy gifts for your daughter. Is it me? Yes, be subtle, don't show off too much, be amazed but modest. In short, you see how to do it, if Hao has it then you have it too sir. Military shovel? Subtle and practical? Haha, you're joking with me right? Don't make it too hard for yourself. If you can't do it you can ask others for advice. You really don't like military shovels? Then Bang Hao thought for a while. The only person who can ask for advice is Dam Yen Nak. She kept sneezing and didn't know who was talking about her again. Then Bang Hao ran off on all fours. Leave it to me sir, just consider it done and don't say I gave it. Mr. Lee was speechless, he didn't expect this little guy Bang Hao to be an expert in misunderstanding. Then he turned to Robert and said, "How's the thing I asked you?" Robert was sawing wood snoring. "Why does it sound like a pig?" It took him a while to sit up. Mr. Lee asked about the situation of the three great flowers. I helped Zhuang understand the supervision and protection of the three great flowers. Now report to you sir. The result of 1 month just passed. They scattered all over the world, also very diligent in purchasing and acting very carefully. They did not cause any attention and they did well. Progress is considered smooth. In fact, they plan to return to the country to report to you. Have they returned yet? Mr. Lee was surprised, the progress was faster than he thought. Then he told Robert to call them over. Mr. Lee's face showed joy. The three of them finally arrived. Dam Yen Nak greeted them. "It's been hard work, Mr. Lee is waiting for you all." Mr. Lee is sitting on the throne saying, "You all have worked hard." The three of them said, "Mr. Lee, this time we came to report a little about the results of our work." Mr. Lee saw the line of text behind their lifespan information. Perhaps this is the result of time acquisition. It seems under the constraint of the contract, they can't arbitrarily use this amount of time, can only bring it back to me themselves. Very perfect. Within a month they could achieve this number. Their average daily transaction is over 50 years. Indeed they are all talents in the transaction aspect. 1,580 years and 1,603 years. Wang Hai has more than others, gaining 1,821 years. In his evaluation documents, he is very indifferent to life, likes the feeling of stimulation on the battlefield, and is a cruel person. Of course no one here is good, if not they couldn't gain 5,000 years in just a short month. Mr. Lee stared at them and thought without saying anything to them, making them anxious. They didn't know what this silence meant. Was he not satisfied? It was then that Mr. Lee spoke up. "You all have worked hard, haven't caused any attention, right?" "Sir, rest assured we work very carefully. Moreover, those who deal with us don't want to cause more trouble either." "Very good. I am extremely satisfied with your work, so next hand over all this time to me." Mr. Lee reached out towards them. The three of them had their lifespan sucked out by him, and he acquired a golden lifeline escaped from their bodies. His current lifespan was terrifyingly high. His name is Mr. Lee, is 27 years old, remaining lifespan 5,729 years, 89 days, 21 hours, 13 minutes and 55 seconds. At this moment Mr. Lee felt this is what it feels like to have a lifespan of 5,000 years, right? They saw Mr. Lee froze and asked worriedly, "Mr. Lee, are you okay? Even if I don't do anything from now on, I can continue to live." The history of heaven has only been around 5,000 years, and the Gagoggia era has only passed 2,000 years. For thousands of years to come, I can completely be an immortal, leisurely watching the rise and fall and extinction of civilization. Now my lifespan has exceeded 5,000 years, and my ability seems to have some strange reactions. What will it be? Then his time watch spun quickly, emitting a strong light, and he slowly opened his eyes. His consciousness was in another dimension where this is the core of time. Mr. Lee stepped down and walked on it. It was really too miraculous. Seeing an ancient clock, Mr. Lee wondered what this meant. It seems this is the rule of time. I understand I can actually go see it myself, but not the future but the past. The three people around saw Mr. Lee motionless. They panicked, didn't say a word. Wasn't he angry? "Should we speak first?" "The oldest one, you go first." Then Mr. Lee opened his eyes and breathed a sigh of relief. Then he said, "Your work has been done very well and the reward has been achieved. I will give as promised. This is not in a hurry. Being able to work for you is our honor, yes, but there are things that need to be said first after leaving this door. If you say something you shouldn't say, don't blame me for being inhospitable." "Yes, yes, sir." So we bid farewell and watched them leave. Mr. Lee thought again. The rules and power of time have increased again. Just now, he entered his illusion, yet he could control time. Facing such a thing would also feel extraordinarily shocking. He reached out to touch it, and it glowed. Then, everything changed. This is the principle of time, not wrong. This feeling is time. If he's not mistaken, this is probably the tangible image of time after transformation. The Milky Way River is so magnificent in the stream of human time. Yet it contains so many great events. This feeling is truly magical. It seems that just stepping into that flow can pass through the past and present, wandering through each year. Mr. Lee was about to touch it when suddenly it enveloped him completely. He felt trapped in that glowing sphere, feeling like he was recalling time. Then, he was sucked into the past. Mr. Lee exclaimed strongly, feeling not good at all. Mr. Lee looked at his lifespan and time. All of it was reduced. "Not good, stop quickly for me." He screamed in panic, pulled his hand back, and jumped away from that glowing thing, almost completely absorbed. It seems that returning to history will consume time. Consume 20 years. More than the time the house consumes. Still maintain respect for the rules of time. Well, the rules of time are cruel leaders, not showing affection to anyone. Even if I always return to history from the present, the longer the time is consumed. The consumption issue needs to be studied. In addition, for historical changes, also be careful. If history changes, there's a high chance I'll get lost in time, that is, I won't be able to see today's sun. Very dangerous, but also very interesting, isn't it? Perhaps you can meet some big names in history. That's why Hal pretended to be a delivery guy giving a girl a gift for the first time, so he was a bit awkward. He sweated profusely. Fighting wasn't scary to him, but this. But isn't it just a gift? How hard can it be? While he was nervous, a staff member asked, "Who are you looking for?" He was startled and jumped up, throwing the gift box into the air. The girl laughed out loud when she saw this. "You're okay, right? Outsiders aren't allowed in here." Hal awkwardly replied, "Oh, I'm so embarrassed. I'm here to deliver food." "No, I mean I'm here to deliver goods, ha. Look at this, it's from Tamo So ha. Is today your first day on the job? You look so tense." No, I won't eat you, ha." Hal muttered in his head that women are really troublesome. Just then Oso arrived just in time. "Is there a delivery for me?" "Really? But I don't remember ordering anything." The two were puzzled as there was no sender's name on it. "It's strange, even the delivery invoice wasn't there either. It's a bit suspicious." The colleague showed her envy. "Maybe there's something strange inside." Get sucked into another world and can't come back, maybe. At this point she turned to ask who sent this? But Hao was too shy to face her. He ran away, leaving behind. The customer didn't say goodbye. He ran faster than being chased by a dog, ran a distance before stopping to pant heavily. Mission accomplished, good for her. The customer didn't say. The whole building heard everything. You're really kind. Isn't it just handing over? Hao said, that's why Mr. Truong understands how to do it better than me in this matter, haha. No wonder for the past 20 years, that thing of our Hao has only been used to pee. Don't talk too much. Before that, you went to ask Damya and Knock for advice, didn't you? So what did you guys end up giving? This is quite powerful. Ms. Dam has analyzed the character of the target, who won't be able to see today's sun, so what we want to give is practical and will definitely suit her character. Sounds like a military shovel, doesn't it? Then Mr. Li and Bang Hao heard the girl's ear-piercing scream. Wow, these glasses are so beautiful. Are they a lucky delivery gift? Is there such a good thing? She put on the glasses and screamed again. Looking at Tamoso's tense face during work hours, what's all the noise about? You don't need this month's bonus, do you? Boss Truong is ruined. Seeing her glasses, this Boss Truong said, little Tam usually saves like that, but she bought these glasses. They're not cheap. Oh, that's not it. Stuttering, today I discovered that this little face is quite beautiful. Boss Truong, stop teasing me. Then he turned away, not forgetting to tell her about the work in progress. Leave it there, later come with me to have dinner with Boss Lai. Whether this contract can be signed successfully or not depends on you. The girl stood dumbfounded. This old man changed his target again. Really want to expose his face on the internet, too immature compared to him. Later she will find an excuse to avoid his lustful gaze. Many female colleagues dare not wear makeup. Applying lipstick and powder is not allowed. If you offend him, you can't keep this job. A high-paying job like this is not easy to find. You're too naive, be careful. I know already, Miss Vong in a restaurant, ha. Welcome Boss Lai, welcome ha. It cost Boss Truong a lot. Please sit down, let me introduce a bit. This is our company's secretary Tam. This guy got promoted quickly, in a blink of an eye he became a secretary. His professional level is quite strong. Next let her personally introduce our project, this time to Boss Lai. This old goat keeps staring at the young grass without blinking once. Boss Truong is really lucky to have such a smart and slippery secretary like her. No wonder his business is getting bigger and bigger, haha. Tamoso started feeling uncomfortable. These two old men were whispering something to each other, their faces were extremely despicable. This bald guy made her feel even more disgusting than the boss. Come on little Tam, give me the contract and we'll talk slowly. Come here girl and sit down. Mr. Li and Bang Hao also came over to eavesdrop on the situation. This lustful old devil, looking at him makes you want to punch him out of annoyance. And Mr. Li said don't endure anymore, our staff absolutely cannot let this kind of person bully them. You see how reasonable it is. Come on little Tam, sit down quickly. The old boss urged her to go over there quickly because she couldn't refuse, otherwise the contract wouldn't be successful. So gritted her teeth and endured sitting next to him. This lecherous old man, what was he doing with his hand? She didn't know how to describe it, but right after that his face changed. The girl and her boss didn't understand what happened. He raised his hand, 5 fingers were very smooth and slick. Finger pointing, each finger in one direction, now understood what happened. He screamed down my hand, screamed like a pig being slaughtered. Tamoso was also startled and jumped away into a corner. What happened to Boss Truong? I don't know clearly just now if it was normal. The old man was in pain and couldn't speak. Don't just stand there, call an ambulance, someone said. The people around were discussing whether he had osteoporosis. After dealing with the situation, Bang Hao sat down as if nothing had happened. Although it was very painful, it seemed that I had been too heavy-handed. Mr. Lee said, "There's no need to show mercy to people like that, let's go." Mr. Lee and Bang Hao left. At this moment, Bang Hao accidentally ran into a girl. Seeing Bang Hao's figure, the girl thought to herself, "Is that the delivery guy? What a coincidence." On the way home, Bang Hao asked Mr. Lee, "Sir, you seem to care a lot about this girl." Mr. Lee replied, "A capable and modest girl like her is perfect for our club. What do you think?" "I think the club's work is getting more and more trivial. We really need a professional manager." At this moment, Mr. Lee received a call from Robert, who said something that shocked Mr. Lee. "When did this happen?" After Mr. Lee arrived at Robert's place, he said, "2 members of the Eagle team have lost contact during surveillance. I have carefully checked the communication equipment and found nothing unusual. Moreover, there are no interference signals in the action area. I suspect that the other party has noticed our actions and launched a revenge." "Where was their last location? Are there any recorded images?" "Yes, sir, the last appearance of number 2 and number 3 was in Luke Lam District at 8:38 on June 17th in G time zone. The target was Jazada Suchi R.A., a black market organ dealer. He sneaked into the hospital and took him out when he was dizzy. The angle of the video seems to be from number 2's action camera. He went in and was thrown out with a bang after a while. Then there was no signal." Mr. Lee asked, "What happened to the Eagle team?" "According to the rules, they should report every 30 minutes, but now not only has their action been interrupted but even their signal has disappeared." "What about the emergency signal? Didn't they activate it?" "They seem to have been blocked. I am conducting an in-depth search. However, such strong blocking measures cannot be done by ordinary hackers. Behind Jizo T Suchi RA must be a powerful organization." Mr. Lee said with a stern face, "Everyone under the protection of the Longevity Club, I will not abandon anyone. On the contrary, I want to see how many heads they have. No matter what, I didn't expect Jizo T Suchi RA to have such a deep background." So Jizo T Suchi RA is not only a head of surgery but also secretly a spokesperson for Tesu Pharmaceutical Group. This group has a history of hundreds of years and has done countless evil things. The organs sold by Rairo T Suchi Rao are definitely from size superiors number 2 and number 3. They must have attracted the attention of the other party during surveillance. It seems that we are in big trouble now. Do we still have a chance? What did Ms. Du say? Why does she think so? Currently, the scope of the Longevity Club has begun to step onto the world stage. Secret organizations around the world will gradually discover our existence. Our advantage is that Mr. Lee is still hidden in the dark. Very few people know about our nature. Number 2 and number 3 have undergone long periods of accelerated training, and their physical conditions have long been different from ordinary people. Organizations that specialize in human experimentation are not so easy to kill, at least until they find the secret in the target's body. From now until then, number 2 and number 3 are probably safe. Therefore, this period is the perfect time for us to rescue them. Our aircraft cannot enter G country's airspace. We must parachute in advance. The SIR will use time acceleration to create inertia, sending you into the action route. The retreat coordinates have been sent to your personal computer. If there are any questions, it's best to ask now." Bang Hao turned his head and asked, "Sir, what about the rules of engagement?" Mr. Lee pondered for a moment and said, "Don't spare anyone." He moved to a room where a man was tied up in the middle of the room. He was tied by handcuffs number 8. It was unclear whether this was number 2 or number 3. Then the door slowly opened, and 3 figures walked in. This bald man is Nobuo Shiguzo, and next to him are 2 tall buildings. They walked in and started shooting in Japanese. "This person's materials are handed over to you. That means it's okay to take this guy away for research, there's no problem. This young man is like, what nonsense are you guys talking about today? I don't understand at all, isn't there a subtitle? Haha, I know one sentence, how does that sentence go? Ah, I remember, you bastards. The tall man with long hair heard this and didn't know if he understood it or not but rushed over to punch him. Stop it, I don't want to see his blood. Don't worry, you two, I will slowly teach him a lesson. Hearing the old man say this, the two looked at each other. Old Guro touched the young man, he was still defiant, is that all he has? Then he covered his mouth with his hand. After that, the two looked at each other without saying anything. He turned to the other two and said, let me prepare everything first. Then they left. Before closing the door, the old man looked back as if he wanted to say something, leaving the young man alone in the room. At this moment, the young man spit out the key that the old man had put in his mouth earlier. What on earth is this dwarf doing? Later they returned with two men who looked like doctors. The old man also wore a doctor's coat, accompanied by a patient cart and two people. When the door opened earlier, the young man was still sitting on a chair. They walked in and were about to operate in 5 minutes. One of them went over and woke him up quickly. As he was about to touch him, he opened his eyes. Immediately after that, he jumped up and punched the doctor straight in the face. The guy was punched into the wall with a bang. The young man picked up a chair in his hand and rushed towards the other three. The young man threw the chair at two men in black suits. The two ducked down and dodged it, but the chair hit a medical staff member in the face. Immediately after that, the young man jumped up and kneed one of them in the face. The remaining one saw this and pulled out a gun from his pants. As he was about to pull the trigger, he was quickly grabbed by the young man. One of his fingers blocked and locked the gun trigger. The young man grabbed handcuff number 8 and jabbed it into his chin saying, "Yeah, you're dead." After defeating everyone else, he turned back to look at the dwarf. Now he finally took off his mask, panting heavily, saying lightly, "Good job, kid, it seems like I won this time. My name is Nobuo Shiguzo, I am an expert in neurology. 2 years ago, I was deceived by Teisuchi RA Group into this underground laboratory where I was forced to participate in illegal human research. I have never given up my escape plan. Unfortunately for those before you didn't make good use of that key." Upon hearing this, the young man turned around and asked, "Do you want me to take you with me? This corporation is so powerful, do you dare to mess with Jizo Teisuchi RA? Moreover, considering your physique, there must be something extraordinary behind you, right?" He thought to himself, can I trust him? He must be very familiar with this place. Why not take him back to Mr. Lee? The reinforcements should be arriving soon. The scene shifts to a forest where the remaining people are running away from the pursuit. It's annoying. Did they receive the signal or not? By now, they've caught up. He was hit in the leg with a candy copper and fell backward. 3 men with guns approached. They said they would take him back to base, let him experience pleasure, and feel the pain of being worse than death. He was trying to hide behind a tree while the others were slowly approaching. Search carefully, it seems they didn't realize where the young man was hiding. Then one of them got hit in the head with a candy copper. His teammate turned around and saw this, he was quickly shot dead too. The rest were no different. It turns out it was Chuang Hu and Bang Hao. The young man hiding under the tree peeked out to see. At this point, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. At this time at the airport, Mr. Lee and Robert received a message. "Sir, we received a signal from the 2 old men Bang Chuang. They had a short gunfight with the enemy. Number 3 is safe. They have reached the safe room with the Eagle team." "Sir, we can't talk too much, short messages are best," he said to them. "I'm here. Next we just need to dig out the enemy." In front of the elevator door, there's a guy showing off his muscles on the screen. He was punched away by young man number 2. Looking at this young man he thought, I guess he's fought a lot of people. Then the young man shouted loudly, I want to fight. The people watching through the camera said, this guy's spirit is really high, his physical fitness far exceeds ordinary people, he is really good research material, prepare a good laboratory. I want to personally dissect his flesh. The bald dwarf saw this and said, wait a minute, he is my best experimental subject. If you play him to death, then he is just a pile of worthless dead meat. Value? Mr. Ishiguro, have you forgotten? You are now just a hostage of Teisuchi-ra family. Are you sure you can value yourself? Yelling in front of Teisuchi-ra's heir is me. Where does that confidence come from? Then before I officially become the head of the family head, let me see your research results first or else you will be my next experiment. Put that little devil in jail. At this time the old man came to visit young man number 2 in jail. He said to him, what do you think? You were just saved by me. The young man didn't say anything for a while before finally opening his mouth and saying thank you then. Jizo Teisuchi-ra is a demon. If you don't make up your mind quickly we will all die young man, we don't have much time left. Hearing about time he confidently said, Mr. Ishiguro, do you know how much time? Time, huh? That pervert isn't very interested in my body structure, maybe ecstasy will come very soon. On Mr. Lee's side, they were setting up camp and directing troops in the forest, while Robert was doing search work. Suddenly, he shouted, found it. Mr. Lee was surprised. Can it be hacked? I'm in. Number 3's intelligence was very accurate. Ordinary buildings could not have a defense system at this level. We have images now. At this moment, a voice from the screen rang out, Jizo Teisuchi-ra is a demon, we are running out of time. Hearing this voice, Robert shouted, it's number 2, he's still alive. The voice of number 2 from the screen continued steadily, Mr. Ishiguro, how much do you know about time? At this point, Mr. Lee also spoke up, what is the background of the person talking to number 2? Wait a minute, I got it. Nobu Ishiguro, 88 years old, was a distinguished professor at the TK Academy. He is highly respected in the field of neuroscience and was in charge of a neuroscience project on human evolution. He published his observations in a report, stating that normal adults can only activate 33% of the muscle fibers in their body, even when they try their hardest. Professional athletes can activate 42% of muscle fibers, with the rest remaining at rest. If one could activate 100% of muscle fibers, then human strength and reaction would be as strong as a superhero's. But shortly after presenting his report, he suddenly disappeared. Now it seems he is working for the Isusha family. Nobu Ishiguro gathers Bang Hao. Hearing Mr. Lee shout out, quickly gather everyone together. Sir, these kids are ready. You give the order. The top priority of this mission is to rescue their comrades and ensure their safety while bringing Nobu Ishiguro back. They must live. At this point Robert in the camp poked his head out to the elder, all networks at my target location have been taken over. In 5 minutes, this place will be an isolated island. Mr. Lee heard Robert's words and showed contempt. 5 minutes later? 20 seconds is enough. He started hacking for that group of people and wished them happy hunting. At the same time, at some secret base somewhere else, the guards walking around discovered that they had lost air conditioning. Why did the air conditioning stop? Can't they switch to another circuit? A bunch of idiots who only know how to take money but don't know how to work are being lazy up there. But we are underground, do these bastards want us to die from heat? San-chan Koen, don't be so angry. They are heading towards the elevator. It seemed like they discovered something, the elevator was creaking down. As soon as the door opened they shouted out loud, hey hey! You guys can't come down here. The 2 guards didn't understand what was happening when their heads flew off. The people who did it were Bang Hao's group who had just arrived, their speed was very fast. At that moment in the control room, I can't contact the ground guards here. Is their network okay? My network has also been cut off. Now there's no internet or Wi-Fi at all. I have a bad feeling about this. I will contact security immediately. This is the control room. If security hears me, please contact me back, security. If you hear me, please contact the control room immediately, otherwise we will switch to alert status. Repeat, security. If you hear me, please contact control room immediately. What did you hear? They are sleeping forever now. Somewhere else there are a few people holding guns in their hands. They are heading somewhere. Suddenly, they noticed a gust of wind blowing loudly, and their ears only heard creaking sounds, creaking, creaking, gliding very fast. It must be Banghouse Group jumping around. Then, all they heard were screams, and the control room heard it too. They knew something had happened. Then, immediately, there was an alarm, beep, beep. What's going on? Ka, ka. Surprise for Jizo Teisuchi RA, home delivery. Surely, not here to save you, right? Oh my god, such a short time, and they've attacked here already, an organization as efficient and quick as this. Maybe this time they really can escape. The scene shifts to the people carrying guns. Before they could shoot, they were taken out. But there was still one man left, panting heavily. He gasped out each word, "Who are you?" The person in front of him was a figure, or rather, a demon, hacked from the screen, bypassing natural laws, so it was pitch black and looked like Bang Hao. Then, that man was stabbed through the throat with a knife. On their side, their boss was trying to make contact, beep beep beep, but couldn't connect with the above. The armed forces in the base are now only us. Reinforcements will arrive in about 3 minutes, he joked. What about Suchiya's defense? Can't we withstand a blow like this? Are they accomplices of that experimental subject living in that lab? Damn it. Our vanguard is all gone, village chief. I suggest we completely detoxify the base. The strength of the enemy has completely surpassed human limits. That man angrily pounded on the table, damn it. We can't forgive them. They could have researched superhumans earlier. We are a bunch of bastards. Hurry up and bring the experimental subject from the lab here. We are leaving here. Take Ishiguro with us. After some thought, the leader muttered, to let Suchiya's family suffer such humiliation, they have no right to live in this world. I want to witness his last scream in this world with my own eyes. At this moment, number 2 is leading the old man to escape from the base while running. The old man asked while running, is your comrade as strong as you? No, there's just one guy with higher data than me. Higher data, but not the strongest? Damn it. The passage is blocked. It seems Surya wants to carry out a complete purge. The old man started trying to enter the password while muttering annoyingly, this is the only exit door left. A combination of 6 digits, number 2. Hearing him say that, they started looking for a way out. A complete purge? Sounds bad. He looked up and saw a ventilation pipe. It seemed he had found an escape route and turned to ask the old man, Ishiro, are you claustrophobic? The ventilation pipe is like a mouse hole. Do you have a better option? Then they heard a beep from the door. It was about to open, creak creak creak. He thought he had successfully unlocked it and was happy. Haha, Achiya can't think of a more complex password. 6 digits, 06 digits, right? Haha. He felt something hit him in the back of his neck and said here here, but before he could say a few words he heard footsteps running towards him. The old man fell down panting heavily with blood coming out of his nose. As soon as number 2 tried to help him up, 3 soldiers pointed their guns at them and said die. Number 2 thought to himself, this time we're done for. He and the old man were desperate while Suchiya was laughing satisfactorily. Then suddenly the soldiers' backs were shot continuously. From the leader whose smile had faded, his attention turned to his eyes. What? One by one, his 3 guards fell. he was still dazed, not understanding what had happened, when he was pierced through the chest. To the astonishment of the second guard and the old man, a figure, Hao, slowly emerged behind him. He turned and saw Hao's blue silhouette and whispered, "Is this some kind of sorcery?" Hao smirked and kicked him, then leaned over to confront the old man and the second guard. The leader tried to call for help, but then he too followed his guards into death. The old man, upon witnessing all this, was speechless. The second guard, seeing Hao, was exhilarated. "Has the big boss's state also arrived? Is that right?" The old man was very surprised to hear the term big boss. Hao glanced at the old man and then dragged him to meet Mr. Li. Before he could finish his sentence, he was whisked away like the wind. Meanwhile, at the campsite, Robert reported to Mr. Li after receiving the news. "Sir, the signal from the Eagle team has been received. The mission is complete, they are on their way back." Mr. Li wasn't too surprised because Hao's group had already returned. Robert was just getting the news. As Robert turned around, he was startled. "Sir, I see now." At this point, the old man finally came to his senses. "Have you introduced me to Min yet?" As he finished his sentence, he looked up and saw Mr. Li with a formidable appearance. "You're the big boss? So young and yet you've overcome the challenges of human evolution?" While speaking, the old man coughed up blood. "Ahem, I have many questions, but sadly I don't have much time left. I'm about to be killed by a poison I created. It seems like karma." Mr. Li approached the old man and sat down. "Professor Ishiguro, it seems you don't know much about time." Without hesitation, Mr. Li summoned a pact. The old man, seeing this, widened his eyes. Could this be the powerful secret of these people? Mr. Li began to advocate for his organization, which had wise scientists, powerful warriors, and strategic advisors. "Our goal is to create a beautiful world and complete the final evolution of life. Dr. Ishiguro, you are lucky and talented. We need you. Join us. This is not just a pact, but a life protection. After all, you only have 5 minutes left." As he spoke, he presented the pact, which buzzed for 2 seconds. Information about the old man's lifespan appeared. Mr. Li continued, "The choice is yours." The old man was in shock. "Is this my lifespan? To directly intervene in human lifespan, you're certainly not human. Are you a god? It seems I have no choice. I'll join." Mr. Li immediately healed him. The paralysis from the poison started to fade, and the old man's body began to recover wonderfully. This is a miracle. But Mr. Li and Robert didn't care about my reaction. I've repeated my astonishment many times, it's not interesting anymore. "Xiao Du, Dr. Ishiguro is now our ally. Don't be so harsh," Trong Hu interjected from the side. "Sir, the young ones are ready. Activate your power, and we can depart right away." "What's the rush?" "Clean up the battlefield," Mr. Li replied. "Why bother? Leave it as is to nourish the insects," the old man advised. Mr. Li responded, "Understood. If you're here, there's no need to worry about leaving any traces." "So, you intend to use those corpses as a threat, right, sir?" "Excellent, but compared to this, Robert, I want you to permanently destroy all research data on the enemy's server. This is my specialty. I assure you that not a single hair will be left behind, Hiroishi." "Sir, you don't mind, do you?" "I'm counting on you. Consider it done immediately." Immediately, the order to assemble was sounded in the camp. Mr. Li and his disciples had returned home. This time, it was essentially a surprise false alarm. Yes, not only was there no damage, but we also benefited. "A neurology professor, didn't the enemy suffer a loss this time?" "As far as I know, this organization can only be considered second in the world. Professor Ishiguro had prospects of going to country M for advanced training but was forcibly kidnapped by them. Professor Nobuo Shiguro is fortunate in misfortune. You don't know how happy he was when he saw Dr. the. Sir, although no one can match your strength. Before she could finish her sentence, Mr. Lee interrupted her. Are you afraid that I will become complacent and forget myself? We can't be sure we're stronger than others. After all, the level of science they hold in some fields even surpasses what society currently has. So why are there so many secrets in this world? There's always a solution to every problem through this organization. It's just right to test how deep the water is behind. Let me be frank, you must be vigilant at all times. Mr. Lee understands. Ms. Du, Mr. Lee will be careful when he gets home. Start gathering the young people, review the mission process, and also show Ms. Du your real strength. Sir, the Eagle Squad has fully assembled. Now let's review everyone's performance in the mission. This time click-clack, they turned on the projector. At this moment, sounds from the video began to play. Team A enters standby for power cutoff. Team B receives action up. They find their target slow as a snail. Don't be merciful. Don't keep anyone alive. Yes, we've swept the north corridor. We've cleared the south. Team A has continued advancing. Ms. Min listens too wrapped up. Teams pay attention to armed enemies detected. Quickly deal with them clearly. Good night. They've located position 2 of Team A. Team B continues searching for enemies. Professor Du, what do you feel watching up to here? I apologized before. I reminded you not to be arrogant, but I didn't expect that comparing their combat power with our soldiers is basically not on the same level. I was presumptuous. Ms. Du spoke harshly before. In legends even gods will be bitten back due to arrogance. It's because of your reminder that I had to hold this meeting to summarize the cause and result of this time. Although, without my time acceleration, these warriors, no matter how strong, cannot compare with the accelerated state, constantly reminding, advising. This time, not only did you remind me, but also reminded the whole club to be careful about what lies ahead. For this point, I have to thank you. It's my duty, although saying so. But in her heart, she thought, Mr. Lee now is no longer like when she first met him. His initial naivety has gradually disappeared. He now is a leader who can unilaterally monopolize, but she still feels that as his power grows stronger, some things are gradually disappearing. What on earth is this? At this point, the meeting also ended. Everyone shouted loudly. I remember everything the sir said. If I repeat it next time, I will pack up directly. Yes, sir, if there is nothing else, then I will take these kids down first. As soon as these people left, another group came in. You guys come in. As soon as he finished speaking, the footsteps got closer. Welcome back, sir. It's our turn to report on our work. It's even faster than last time. It seems that you guys are gradually mastering the skills. After a few transactions, we have gained some reputation with the locals there. Now there are customers who have heard of us and come to us. Reputation is a double-edged sword. I'm afraid you guys can't keep it. Sir, rest assured, we have carefully screened every customer. The troublemakers absolutely cannot get in. Well, if that's the case, let me see everyone's results. The watch spun rapidly, their lifespan and the time they had purchased appeared. His name is True Dai Hoa, age 46, remaining lifespan 23 years, 10 months, 23 days, 30 seconds, years purchased 2.245. His name is Vong Hai, age 40, remaining lifespan 32 years, 8 months, 15 days, 22 seconds, years purchased at 1.935. His name is Ho Tien Bao, age 55, remaining lifespan 8 years, 7 months, 14 days, 12 seconds, years purchased 1.965. Mr. Lee. Looking at their results made me laugh uncontrollably, then he muttered to himself, success. This harvest of everyone is really good, compared to last time, this harvest is clearly more. The three old men laughed. Not wrong, sir, our brothers have learned to be smart this time, we did a small business together. Old True let Sir see it. Okay, here's the lottery ticket. Similar to ordinary lottery tickets, the buyer gets real money, but our lottery tickets must use a few months of lifespan to buy. Depending on the level of prizes won, the prize money will also vary, but ordinary lottery tickets are not expensive either. How did you guys convince people to buy your tickets? First of all, the prize money we set up cannot be compared with ordinary lottery tickets based on this point alone. It's enough to crush ordinary lottery tickets already. Even more so, our winning rate is 100% compared to the previous purchase price of $100,000. We also achieved greater benefits than what we put out. Listening to the old ladies taking turns explaining made him ponder. These three old men can come up with such a method as long as they control the rate very well. It's definitely a great business. Turning around, he said to the three old men, everyone did very well, keep it up. At the same time, I will remember this merit, so next here, hand over everyone's harvest to me. Mr. Lee reached out towards them, which made them all very tense. It's here, it's this thing. The spinning sound of it, their screams echoed throughout the neighborhood. Still can't adapt at all. Mr. Lee is sucking it now. Their lifespan was being sucked away, their bodies glowing, life threads flying out from them, life energy flowing into Mr. Lee's body. Mr. Lee's lifespan just jumped up like that. What is this all about? At this point, the three old men were no longer steady, and the one in the middle fell, hitting his back on the cabinet. You guys have worked hard, the reward will soon be delivered to you, you guys go rest first. It's our fortune to work with Sir in the future. We will do our best for Sir's sake. Mr. Lee had just finished absorbing lifespan and was in a daze when the old man kept pressing him. He glared at him, which startled him. Hey uncle, are you okay? Your legs are all shaky. Honestly, every time the boss absorbs all the time on us, it always gives me a very scary feeling. You're out of flattery, learn from me. Speak less, look less, the boss is not an ordinary person, those actions can't be applied to him. I know a not bad restaurant, it's okay to comfort this old man. I need to vent. Very well. Mr. Lee was still standing in the room, neither sitting nor lying down, just looking at his fist slowly opening with light emitting from it. His lifespan appeared. His name is Mr. Lee, age 27, remaining lifespan 10.032 years, 29 days, 12 hours 20 minutes 36 seconds. Achieved it, 10.000 years of lifespan. Oh. Then a wind surrounded him and immediately took him to a space similar to last time when he achieved 5.000 years of lifespan. This time it's 10.000 years of lifespan. In the end, I still have to try once, but before finding the exact method I must be extra careful to reverse time. Mr. Lee was surrounded by green things. The wind blew loudly, then took him away, leaving the room with a pile of documents, papers flying all over the room. Then Ms. Du came to see Mr. Lee. Sir, there are some documents here. She looked towards the room but didn't see Mr. Lee anywhere. She asked, where did he go? The watch spun very fast, making a tink-tink sound. Mr. Lee is in an undefined space, surrounded by something like a galaxy. I'm being sucked into the flow of time again. Why again? What exactly is the correct method to open it? How annoying. The flow rate has stabilized now. Now Mr. Lee can finally set foot down there, although the flow is stabilized, but he can still feel time being consumed. This time I must find a way to reverse time. I can't waste time anymore. Right after that, Mr. Lee saw in front of him were balls of light. Looking inside, Mr. Lee knew these were scenes that had happened before. Moreover, most of the scenes were at the club, so it can be explained that currently he is still standing in the club's conference room, but time is reversing. Everything in the building is going back in time until the building returns to a certain point. Mr. Lee was watching a memory in the building that happened in the past. Doctor, please save my husband's life. Madam, don't do this, you're making it difficult for me. It seems that the predecessor of this building, this club, was really a hospital, but who are these people? Originally thought that he would see famous historical figures like this time then. "Doctor, you must save him, please, doctor, he's our only hope." Hearing their conversation, Mr. Lee was very surprised. "Tuong? Did she just say Tuong?" Indeed, that person is Mr. Tuong, a businessman who has established countless universities, so it seems I've come to the right place. Mr. Lee used his time-hacking ability to step into the world in the past where this place is exactly where the club building will be later on. It seems it used to look like this. Is Bang Hao's gym, which used to be a morgue, the reason why he still doesn't have a girlfriend? No wonder there are so many people chasing after him, Mr. Lee thought. He felt an intimate connection with every brick and tile here. Suddenly, he heard crying next to him. "Little boy, what on earth did your father do?" He was a serious businessman. Why did he offend those people? "Mom, calm down. Dad has finished his surgery. He will be fine," Mr. Lee thought again. Indeed, the TV dramas were not entirely nonsense. The protagonist, Tuong, rose from poverty to become a successful businessman in line with the times. He once led a family business and held 20% of the international textile trade. His ability to make money not only caused jealousy among competitors but also provoked many people's greed. He planned to save his backward and poor country through his own methods. However, because he offended some powerful people, he was assassinated and died with regret. His son was also a patriotic businessman. However, he was never as good as his father. Mr. Lee was lurking outside the hospital room. Given the backward medical level at that time, no matter how much money was spent on surgery, it only caused more pain for the old man in this world. Fortunately, all these are history now, and history can be changed.